Welcome back to Mining Now. We have part 2 with Geographe on this episode. We're going to have their service or their operations manager for services from Geographe, Shane Attwood, on the show. We're going to be this is going to be a very applicable episode for a lot of people watching, because we're talking about efficiency within the operations and the production. It's going to be a very good episode. Really, no matter what stream you're in on the industry. So, but before we start, this is all part of our heavy industry world tour, I should say. This is being filmed from Australia. But our next up, we're going to be in Indaba in South Africa, February 6th to 9th. So if you want to join us, if you're going to Indaba, let us know, and you can join us for an episode for Mining Now. Now, on the Crownsman Show, we're going to be at PowerGen in Florida in the great US of A, February 21st to 23rd. That is a great event as well. So if you're going to be there, more on that general heavy industry side, let us know. And of course, a special thank you to Savinaw Equipment. They're our sponsor. They've been for a long time, and now they're helping us get all over the world doing these episodes. Absolutely amazing. Thank you to them. And let's jump into part 2. Shane, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good morning to you, and good evening to us. We're on two different sides of the world doing this. It's absolutely great. Sam really covered on his episode. He really covered this sort of the management approach, the vision. A lot of things that are, on the posters behind you, we discussed, and really, as the operations manager, we're really going to now dig into some of those processes within the operation. So, can you maybe first, maybe just what is your role? How do you define your role for the company?
When I look at my role, I want to make our team's life at the operation as comfortable as possible, as easy as possible, while still achieving getting work out and making money. Obviously, that's very important. So I felt that to get people involved, I want to make their life easier. I want to make their environment comfortable. So I started looking at ways of how I could do that. I've been involved in this organisation for many years, and through those years, we've touched on different things to improve processes and efficiency throughout the operation. Back in the early days, starting with things like SMED, by Singo wrote a book called SMED, Single Minute Exchange of Dies. And when I was in the manufacturing side of things, I had a real opportunity to explore how to reduce the setup time on a machine in those days on the lathe. So we were trying to achieve the objective of get it from somewhere around 30 minutes down to 9 minutes on a repeatable basis. And we used Singo as a guide, if you like, to get that process down. And through the years, we've constantly developed and looked at different ways to make our processes faster and efficient. In the services division here, it's slightly different from a production manufacturing business. There's a lot more moving parts, or I feel there's a lot more moving parts. So it's quite a bit more challenging to lean up processes, because we're not consistently doing the same thing. Where you are doing the same thing, we set up processes that can make it repeatable. But we've also got to have things that processes that will dovetail into a job that's not repeatable. And in doing that, we've looked at the Toyota way and its processes. The Toyota production system is probably I believe, the global standard of lean and manufacturing and processes. So we've used references like that to progress through the years. And more recently, I've adopted another strategy that Paul Akers out of the US has, which is called 2-second lean. And a colleague of mine in our manufacturing operation put me onto this, and we started the process a couple of years ago, and it didn't get much traction. But then, as I did more research, I could see that the 2-second lean process and methodology really fitted with my personality, if you like. So I enjoy a spirit of fun at work, but also a spirit of ownership. So in the Paul Akers process, we plagiarised, I guess, everything that Paul said, and that Paul encourages businesses around the globe to do such things. So initially, we went through the process, and I had a lot of over processing happening. I had many inspection processes happening through our business. We would dismantle, or a product would come in, we'd dismantle it, we'd inspect it. It would go to a holding station where, again, it was inspected for further review before we quoted it. We quote it, we'd get an order, we'd re-inspect it, or make sure we had all the parts there, and then we'd give it to a tradesman or an experienced person to start the assembly process. And again, he would check it. So through all that, there's tremendous amounts of over processing, and it's just not ideal, and it's very frustrating.
Okay, so let's give a special thank you to one of our longest sponsors of the show, Savannah Equipment. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Jared so that he can give you a little bit more info on Savannah Equipment.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, people see them as sponsors, so they'll ask me, kind of who they are, what they are, and just trying to understand the scope of the company. So Savannah Equipment is a mining supply company, and they're delivering on the whole equipment supply chain. So everything from the ore processing to underground mining, open pit. They're in hard rock and placer operations. And what they're doing is they're sourcing equipment from all over the world and then delivering it all over the world. Now, they are a Canadian company, so they're based there, but, let's say, they're selling entire ore processing plants. So there might be a plant down in Latin America, and there's a new mine that needs that plant in Africa or somewhere in the US. So they're facilitating that entire transactions. But they're also delivering, an individual conveyor or a concentrator or a pump package or just an electrical package. So it really is the whole gambit of the mining equipment supply chain.
Oh, that's great then. Well, then you definitely have to check them out. If you're looking for mining equipment, visit them at savannahEquipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. CIM is the leading membership organization for technical content and creating connections in the mining industry. Mining professionals and students can access a breadth of technical expertise through the CIM Technical Paper Library, the WineMine Digital Repository, the CIM Journal, the CIM Magazine, and attend upcoming CIM webinars. Whether you're working in the field, in the office, or at home, join the community today and learn how they can help you achieve your professional goals. Visit them at CIM.org. Fender Dunlop Usflex belts are engineered to withstand the harshest applications, delivering benefits that solve customer problems via superior rip, tear, and impact resistance. Usflex are extremely strong and robust belts that are difficult to destroy, which is important for heavy-duty bulk material handling environments. Made in their very own North American manufacturing facilities, this revolutionary concept in straight warp conveyor belting is up to 3 times more impact resistant versus competitor belting. Usflex users use fewer belts per year, make fewer belt repairs and replacements, reduce or eliminate belt downtime, and improve employee safety. You can visit FenderDunlopAmericas.com to learn more about their premium Usflex conveyor belting.
So I had to bring it back to an understanding of each person, as they do a process, owns that process. So, and I did that. I wanted that because I felt that if another person was checking another person's work, then it sort of gave them an escape path. Well, and that escape path is quite a rough term, if you like, but it allows people the opportunity to go, oh, someone else is going to check it. And I know personally that was one of my shortcomings in manufacturing. If I had an idea that someone else was going to check my work, then maybe I might not have been as thorough as I should have been when I did my first job, for example. So having those learnings in my own mind, I thought, well, what helped me to get to take full ownership was that I wasn't expecting someone else to check that for me. I would check my work, and I'd have to absolutely know that it was going to be right before I passed on to the next station. And in doing that, I wanted to adopt the same principle to our operations here in the services department, where we could remove the check-in, double checking, triple checking by having each person individually own their process. And I'm very fortunate. I work with a tremendous team. And when I started introducing the Paul Akers concept around process and over processing and the 8 weights, and that the team were very, very, they embraced it tremendously. So it wasn't a super hard task to implement, and we got on with it. And so we started off with our morning meetings, which are fairly structured. And initially we started off those meetings, and it was dry. It was dry. You go to a meeting and almost people would just rock up to a meeting, not terribly enthusiastic about wanting to be there. And I revisited what Paul was doing again, and I observed that, and this was quite out there for us. I observed that Paul had a sort of a rock music sort of intro in his slides, and I took a leap of faith, and I put the rock intro onto the slide, and overnight the meetings were chalk and cheese. So we got a big stereo. One of our guys donated the stereo he had in his pool room, and he set it up for us, and we started playing this 5-minute intro. Had some really motivating music. The guys that come down to the meeting fully engaged and want to get on it. And overnight, it essentially changed how our meetings were and how our culture was. We also want to give back to our culture, or we want the team to be as cohesive and collaborative as possible. So we have areas in our meeting where our team members call out other team members for great things they've done. And on the values you can see behind me, they talk to those 4 values in any story they have where a colleague has helped them out to get things done, look after each other, work it out, do the right thing. And so in doing that, the mateship of the operation grew. And from that, we started to get further engagement with people, again, referring back to the 2-second lean and fix what bugs me principle, which Paul has. The team started looking for areas of improvement, and off they went. I brought a pile of Kaizen foam, and we started with just simple things of putting tools in Kaizen foam to lay things out more effectively for the guys. And the guys fully embraced it, because it was I sold it personally as it wasn't so much to me, like when I started this project, it wasn't so much to me about money. It was about improving the guys' lives and making their task easier at work. And the offshoot of that, or the recovery of that, was going to be the money. So it was never sold on money. It was always sold on making their lives better. I like to work in quite an organised environment, and then in knowing that how that made me feel, I felt that I could grow that into the team and make them feel better. So we got a lot of traction on that, and we moved along really, really well with the Paul Akers side of things, and we still are. One thing that was quite not unique, but interesting to us and very daunting was Paul Akers and all the business he talks to around the world. They all start their process or their improvement process around their bathrooms, and that is quite an interesting thing. And our bathrooms at the time were less than best, so we wanted to give back. Our team was working really hard, and we fully upgraded the bathroom. The bathroom is the catalyst for the personal ownership. The engagement is a side of the 2-second lean concept. So in having clean and neat bathrooms, the guys, it just has a makes them feel better.
So I'm going to circle back to a few things that you touched on, but I just want to quickly just off the bathroom focus. When you overhaul, how quickly you said about the music, how quickly that changed. When you start doing something like focus on the washrooms, how quickly do you see a change in that? Is it noticeable? Like the first day the bathrooms are all sort of teed up, right? Is it the next day you notice a difference?
Yes, yeah, you do. It's you notice a difference in the spirit of the people, the appreciation of what they now walk into. So, and in that, the we still have a cleaner that comes in and does our bathrooms, but our if you use traditional Paul Akers stuff, the staff actually clean the bathrooms. They don't have an outside cleaner coming in to do the bathrooms. The staff do it. And at some stage in the future, I think we will get to that place where we do have individuals that volunteer and will jump in there and clean, and there's not much to clean because everyone takes their own responsibility for making sure things are clean. But it did. It just lifted the spirit of the team, and we did the bathrooms in our kitchen facility, and in doing that, we've got a coffee machine, etc. And these are pretty normal things around a lot of business, but it made a difference in our organisation, and the guys felt like we were returning something to them. Is I get my words, if you like, but that's the feedback that and the feeling I get when I talk to the team about those things. And they're very we have in our morning meeting a cleanliness slide, if you like, and the guys are really very much on to, okay, this is out of play. So yeah, if you use this, make sure you replace it. So in the 2 years that I've been formally dealing with this, and we've still got a long way to go, we have had to do very little upkeep of our process and our overall facility cleanliness in the workshop. The guys fully look after it now. If I do a before and after, the before shot was we would have I guess non-productive people emptying the bins, non-productive people sweeping the floor, washing the floor, just keeping things tidy, and our tradesmen would just be on the task. And the aftershot was the tradesmen owned all that. They owned emptying the bins, they owned making sure their areas were clean, they owned making sure their tools were away. And it might seem like that is an inefficient way to do business to a lot of people. I got a return on investment in that. I was able to have a morning meeting which takes roughly half an hour out of our day. Our team looked after themselves 100%. We still achieved the same production, in fact more production than what we did. So in terms, so we're down to a 7-hour day, if you like, without ignoring breaks. And we still achieve more production than what we did before we started this process. So it has been tremendously effective.
And I want to clarify something. So when you say the services, which can you just clarify for sort of which sector of Geographe your area of focus is?
Okay, yes. So my area, we do fixed plant rebuilds or repairs, and essentially we rebuild transmissions up to 20 ton or 20,000 kilo. Not often, but that's our scope, if you like, from anything from a gearbox that weighs a couple of 100 kilo up to 20 ton. But generally, most of our boxes are in the 3 to 5 ton range, and we do somewhere in between 20 or up to 24 of them a month on a good month.
Cleario custom creates 3D and immersive experiences, presentations, and apps. Use this amazing technology to promote projects or products, communicate plans and outcomes to stakeholders, train your employees and customers, hold virtual meetings around the world with your project's data. For infrastructure, environmental, and industrial projects, Cleario's expertise converts your spatial data into holographic 3D scenes, or full applications that tell your story in a compelling and intuitive way. It's time to join the metaverse for the real world. Learn more at cleario.studio. PowerZone carries a massive inventory of pumps, engines, generators, and compressors. However, they don't stop there. They combine imagination with world-class engineering. They detail the entire process to every customer. Their pump package testing facility ensures your equipment is landing on-site, ready to work. That is PowerZone. Start with inventory, develop with imagination, deliver with integrity, and it's all at powerzone.com. That is PowerZone.
And then, so how long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company since 1983. I've had a few breaks away, seeing, checking out if the grass was greener on the other side,
Yeah.
but always return home because I just love this place.
Are you, from what you're saying, you don't strike me as this is the way we always have done it here type approach. So were you always like that? I mean, you're adopting all these new things, trying, putting, I don't know if I'd be comfortable bringing out rock music to start our meeting. So that's, I can understand how that would be a big change. Is that something learned, or have you always sort of been looking for the next thing that can improve a process?
Probably a combination of both. I had in my early years as a tradesman in our Bunbury operation, I had great experiences with our chairman and he's so visionary and always pushing. He'd been to Japan, and they brought back ideas. And in those years, I was involved in some of the robotics part and the automation parts of the business. It was a tremendous amount of fun just seeing how much we could push the envelope. So always trying to do something or innovate something that was going to make our products go through faster, higher quality, and less expensive, obviously. So it was just so much fun, and through that, reading books like Dingo's Med, and then the Toyota Way, and into the latest one, Elliot Goldratt in the goal, where we talk about other things around constraints. I always want to, and have always wanted to push the envelope. I don't like to change things for the sake of change, but I like to change things for the sake of improvement. If there's something that can be improved, and I believe everything can be improved. There's not a thing that I do in a day that I don't look at an opportunity where I can make it quicker or easier, and I love imparting that and growing that onto other people. If I can help someone grow in their personal self, in order they can create a generational improvement in their family, then that's my reason for doing everything I do at the operation.
I want to touch on something that you said about the chairman going to Japan and coming back with ideas, and this is a tricky. If you can't answer this one, that this is fine. But I'm just curious, because I only spent a couple weeks in Japan, and even that little trip had an impact on me, and still does. Just the way that they operate and do things is just, it's at another level. Of course, if you stay somewhere long enough, I mean, you'll find their faults and everything like that. But just the way they operate things is a very smooth process, and just, it's just that extra level. They just take out steps that shouldn't be there, that you don't even think about. And they thought about it, and you realize, oh, yeah, of course you shouldn't do it that way. Did that sort of, taking on some of that sort of approach of the Toyotas and their systems, could you, again, there's a tricky question, but is there sort of a culture in Australia of how to do things and how to do production that you find sort of marries well with the Japanese production systems?
My initial response would be, I'd be cautious to support that. I think that there's,
yeah, and I don't, and I should clarify, I'm not putting an assumption. I'm not putting an assumption on that. I will say, when doing these interviews in Australia, there's been a very entrepreneurial sort of approach, and just excellence in the products that we've been, I think I'm on the 16th episode in about 6 days or something. I've done a lot of interviews, and there's this excellence in the product, and this and this entrepreneurial sort of marrying of those two things. I've definitely noticed that in these interviews. And then I just wondered how that, um, now I'm almost imagining it, and is coupling that with that Japanese production would have a lot of impact. It just seems like it would be a very powerful combination.
It is tremendously powerful. We're ourselves are a lot less formal than that Japanese way. So I take a lot of the good bits of the Japanese system and implement them where we can. A lot less formal at this point in time than
Right.
what the Japanese would be. So they for my operation they're much more advanced than where I am at the moment, and that's because when I started this, if I could go out there and implement all these systems probably exactly like the Japanese way, but then I've got to try and get people to own them, and
Right. Yeah.
it just didn't seem to work. So I've gone about the reverse way of encouraged people, basically empowered people, to get on board and to take on the part of the process of lean or 2-second improvements, pick what bugs them in order to, and they've gone away, and each individual has a slightly different system of how they interpret and how they've adopted that in the business, but it works for them and it's helped me. So my next stage of growth is now to now systemize that part of it. So each person, if they were to move from area to area, right now they can move from area to area, and everything they go to the next area is in its place and it's easily defined, but it's not in the same place it might have been in their area. So there's an inefficiency loss there. So my next stage of the process, now that everyone is used to and understands what the benefits are of doing this, is to make the whole thing a lot more systematic approach. So if I'm going to transition from one work center to another work center in our operation, then everything will be in the same place, and that's much more towards the TPS system, and I get traditional Japanese manufacture.
Yeah.
It,
Well, what
it
you're saying. Sorry, I was just going to say and that's and when I ask a tricky question, of course, you sort of have to rephrase it because I'm trying to find it myself. But I think you've sort of captured it. Is what I was sort of getting at, is that if you come in and say, "Hey, we've got a new way of doing things," but you're also bringing in a whole new culture, that, I mean, people aren't going to be able to adopt that. So you sort of you need to almost do it in steps so that they can, and you're not even trying to fully adopt it. You're trying to extract key areas that can help. Do I kind of have that right? I'm just trying to kind of get through your process because
you,
it's a very challenging thing that you're doing.
it is, and you've nailed it in your explanation there. I use this metaphor of this process. It's a very easy process to get started. It's like having a really wet towel, and you wring out that wet towel, and there's lots of water coming out at the start. And all that water is the changes. It's the guys set up their workstation with size and foam. It's the putting up the signage. It's the making sure the lines are down the floor and the floor's painted. It's making sure everything has its place. It's the bathroom. And as you start to wring out that towel, and that's the easy part, and that's the fun part. Everyone loves that part because it's so
Right.
visual of what's happening. And
Yeah.
then as you wring in the towel out more, there's less water coming out of it. That's when the work comes in. So that's when you sort of have to reinvigorate the energy of
Mm.
what you're trying to achieve. So and how I get inspiration today is I go to YouTube again and we look at other businesses. We showcase other businesses at our morning meeting. We might spend a 5-minute snippet on some improvements that another business has done just to keep that motivation happening. Every now and again, I would drag the whole team off the floor and we'll go to the boardroom and watch 30 or 40 minutes of video to keep that process or keep motivation, if you like, and the enthusiasm up, because it takes a lot of work to continually think of what can I improve, and there's thousands things that people are going to improve.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep planting that seed of an improvement. And the improvement is as simple as wiping the dirt or the bug to push the bug off the light switch. That is an improvement, and it makes a difference because the next day you don't have to look at a switch bug on the light switch, and you're in a better place.
Yeah. I guess to build on that, and this is something, I'm actually picking your brain here, just unashamedly, but is praise as well, because this is where even personally, I find this a tough thing, because if I'm in a group of people and I do something well and everybody starts cheering, I just want to leave the room. I don't want any part of it. If someone quietly says to me, that really helped out, that I respond better to that. Um, but then over time I've learned, if people are celebrating something you've done, you've sort of got to accept it gracefully, because it's also, they're not just cheering on you. You realize, they're cheering on that we're doing this as well. But how do you approach that? You're going to have a lot of different personalities, trades guys, I'm sure the managers in the offices and all that sort of stuff. How do you sort of approach the praise element? Because that in itself is a tricky one.
I think I'm blessed with that ability to praise people in an authentic way that hopefully doesn't embarrass them. I'm ever grateful of what people do and the smallest things that I notice the tiniest of detail and will praise that, and that helps tremendously. Yeah, I completely understand the same, that the overt praise and everyone's slapping you on. I'm in that corner, sort of. No, I don't want that spotlight. That give that to someone else. I'm just happy to be the guy that helps you get it done. Recognise that you've done it. So we praise, our praise, if you like. If it doesn't come from me, when I'm working through the shop, just giving general encouragement, and I've got other people looking after out there. So, but when I do walk through the shop and give the praise, fortunately, I believe it's authentic, because I am genuine in when I give. I don't give praise for the sake of giving praise, but I
Right.
find lots of ways to give praise. Because again, I recognise the smallest and appreciate the smallest thing.
Do you and how do you sort of allocate it as well? Because I think this stuff you're talking about is so key, but keeping everybody as a team, but also accelerating the high performers, because that sort of drags everybody up, or that's the idea. So if you have someone that's really taking the reins, do you make a, not even a point? Do you continue to praise that person every single day if they're continually looking for improvements in that? Is that a very public thing? Sort of, how do you approach that? It's like the leading scorer, and he kind of keeps getting more and more praise. It's a tricky thing as well.
It is. I do find it goes in ebbs and flows. So people have their ups and downs, and at certain times through the week or the month, the year, people will shine to the top, and we see that in our daily meeting, in our gratitude and our raving fans. So that's where most of it's done. So 2 or 3 days in a row, an individual might receive a raving fan. He's the sensation for that couple of days, and then another couple of days go by, and it'll be someone else. It generally seems to be very much shared around, and the team self monitor very, very well, and they kind, yeah.
The other element of it is, and I really wanted to bring this one up to you, is because I know there's a lot of focus on safety. And in the first interview with Sam, we talked a lot about it, but I want to kind of approach from a different element. Let's go to a really sort of old school way. I'm probably actually butchering even the old school way of saying it, but there is sort of this thought, that safety over safety can almost have a feeling of coddling. I am butchering that, because I just can't think of a better way to sort of say it at the moment. Do you think though, when you as the company, it's not a union coming to you, it's not the industry standard that, but you as a company are saying we're putting these safety measures in place, we're keeping our people safe. How much impact do you think that has on people when they're showing up to work?
Tremendous impact. If people feel genuinely cared about, and we care about their safety, and they have a voice for safety, I think it has a tremendous impact. We talk to safety every meeting, like a lot of organisations do, and we highlight and we encourage people to highlight the most minor of incidents. We don't want our people getting hurt, and it's regularly seen. I want all my people to go home with their fingers and toes every single day. That's important to us, and so I believe safety and proactive and a proactive approach to safety is paramount.
Does it slow down production sometimes though?
I personally haven't experienced that. So because we have a lot of common processes, so when I say a lot of common, we've got different work, but it's fairly common in its approach to how you do it. So for us, I don't believe it impacts us tremendously. If we have a big project on it and we do a large step back, we have more people involved, we have all the sign offs and that, then I would never call it an effect on productivity, because it's an essential part of the process, and it's a part you charge more. I don't feel it's a cost to the business. It's essential.
When and again, and now kind of bringing that back to the team though, when you're adopting a culture of safety, and I'm really kind of going at this because just talking to Sam, some companies they want to talk about it as their talking point. Some companies it's really part of the culture that they have or are developing, and I can sense that with you. So how do you instill that in your team though? Because there's the appreciation of safety, but then there's the other side where the guys that want to get stuff done, they want to get stuff moved, and then they have to go through these processes now, and they have to sort of learn that this is as important as making sure everything's tightened up. It is as important. How do you approach that? Is instilling that as a culture of safety, especially the guys who are going for it? They want to get stuff done. They want to get it on time. They don't want to be delayed, and instilling that in their culture.
Interestingly, because we've had it in place for so long, the care factor around safety, and it's always been important to us from when I started here back in '83. Inevitably, anyone that comes into that business adopts it very easily and quickly, because that's who we are. It's
right.
It's well known that we always talk to it. Always are people busy in our industry, if you like, is particularly in services and in manufacturing. Minor cuts can be prevalent, so we're always talking to gloves when you can. Always talking to think about what if you're reaching on a spanner, what is behind you that if the spanner come off that you could hurt yourself on. It's a constant reminder from us and individually towards each other, the team. So we've always had an environment of no one will ever get in trouble for raising a safety event. We only ever praise that fact that we need to understand these things. So we encourage everyone to report the most minor of things. If we can understand what's going on without it being hidden, we can fix it. What we don't know about, we can't fix.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm putting this back so much on sort of all these topics because they're such important ones. And I know that a lot of people watching are running their own businesses and they're trying to develop. And these are tough. All of these things we're talking about are very easy things to talk about, very difficult to do. And from cultural, logistically, financially, making sure the customer experience while you're putting these processes in place isn't jeopardized. Like these are big issues. And I wanted to kind of touch the 5S system, the lean that you've talked about. The 5 ones are sort, straighten, shine, standardize, sustain. Out of those two, and I just kind of want to sort of wrap up the interview with this. Out of those five, what would be the easiest, for a lack of a better word, to implement? What would you think would be the most challenging from your company's perspective?
Sort, in my view, is definitely the easiest. Most challenging one would be standardized. That's where I am at the moment, because everyone has their own. Everyone has. I say everyone. Each area specialist has their own flavour of what their lean system might, or their area might look like. So the standardised is one. Now I've got to take away, help them grow into a standard approach to a way we all want to go. Understand that if you move from that workstation to another workstation, you want it to be the same, make your life as easy as possible, and achieving that nice balance between what one person might want to another person, bringing that into a nice middle ground where everyone's happy and we still achieve result.
Why would sort be why would it be the easiest? I mean, I'm realizing easiest doesn't mean easy. But why would it be the easiest of them?
Sort is the one where we get to declutter, and you get sort sets up to my mind, the foundation for the rest of it to sit on. You sort stuff out, you get rid of all the rubbish, you declutter the whole experience, and then you can start to build everything else into it. Now, I say easy. We know when the guys first started sorting, they went through a cupboard and they had 5 cupboards and they pulled everything out of 5 cupboards. They go, stop. You start doing that and you're going to get completely overwhelmed. Let's focus on sorting one cupboard. It's a manageable task. So I definitely don't encourage. When I say sort is easy, I definitely don't encourage you to go and rip everything out of every corner in the business and go, oh, I'll sort this because that would just create mayhem. No, clever sorting.
Right. And I guess the last question that I want to ask you, that in all of this, I mean, these are big topics. You could almost do on each of those, like of those, just the 5 S's. We could probably walk through all 5 and the different approaches and do an episode on just those. But from a customer experience, has there been a point where you thought that it's affected in these development stages where it's been tougher to deliver for the customer? And are you at a point now where the customer is getting, even though they might not know all the details of what it took to get there, are they actually getting a better experience? Or do they see a better experience, do you think? Or is it primarily from an internal standpoint where operations are going better?
Customer sees a better experience in the reduction in lead times, and that's tremendously variable. So when in times like now where there's a lot of work on the lead times extend out, and regardless of how effectively you process things, you're still going to have some form of backlog. So it needs to be when you've got a healthy, balanced workload, customers see it in reduced lead time. Other than that, it really is very much internal. It's the internal well-being of the organisation that it contributes to. Most customers probably wouldn't have any idea, aside from when they visit the place. And regularly we have customers in here. They walk through and they go, "Wow, this is a sharp, clean operation compared to some other places." And that's a super good feeling when you know that any of my customers can come in here any time. I don't seek to have an appointment before they visit, whereas in the past we might do. They can come in any time, and the operation is no different to what the next person sees the next day. We don't have, like, even getting prepared for this. There was no massive run around or make it all clean. It was already ready. We could have done this any time, any day of the year.
And you're not worried if someone asks to use the bathroom.
Definitely not. Definitely not. No, no, sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely yeah, and sort of, and thanks for kind of going through it with me, because it is an important, like I said, it is an important topic. And it's an easy topic to go, yeah, we got everything in place, we work on safety now. It's easy to talk about it in 5 minutes. It's much harder to sort of peel it back over a period of 45 minutes or so. So Shane, just yeah, thanks for coming on. I hope we get to do it again. And what I would do in the next one is I would grab a couple of those 5S's and really peel them back. So I think there's a lot there. But thank you for taking the time today.
No worries. Well, thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, and thank you everybody for watching. We're going to put links to like the lean system. Of course, there'll be plenty of links to Geographe. But this is some really important stuff. And yeah, just again, thank you to Geographe for not just not just promoting who they are, but actually sharing a lot of knowledge and ways to approach development. So we really appreciate it. We appreciate all the audience watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Mining Now.